everyone. Welcome on Just Event Online TV. I'm Abdul Rizal once again on the program Issues and Reality. Today, I have with me a media practitioner, a public affairs analyst, a writer, I'll say an author, a good governance advocate, and also I think, and you are into environmental advocacies, the climate change advocacies. But today, we'll be talking about a trending issue in the current political space. Well, I think the most popular conversation in Kwara State today is the issue that occurred somewhere around yesterday, where a local government chairman was alleged. Well, we saw the footage actually, and then after some back and forth, a medium reached out to him, and he never denied the video. He said he was the one in the video. But majorly, we are not talking about a person here. We want to talk about the system, and all of us as a people. What happened there was an institution, or would I say, a beneficiary, or would I say a holder of an institution, I mean, swinging the institution against what it should be. That is, some people will target something so disgusting. Some will say it rises against every known common senses. But we have someone in the house who will give us an apolitical analysis of every statement that was made in that video footage, and then you can be rest assured that this is apolitical, and we're just talking about the system and a country and where we found ourselves as opposed to, I mean, in contra in comparison to where we're supposed to be. Today I have with me Mr. Ambali Abdul. You're welcome on the show.
Thank you for having me.
I think I want to start the conversation like this. In a democracy, you talk about a lot of angles. You talk about periodic elections. You talk about the arms and organs of government, the executive, the judiciary, and the legislature. We're supposed to cohabit to make the system work. So that there will be check and balances. But there is one very important part of democracy or republicanism that Nigeria maybe we don't really take. I mean, take a very good look, and that is the tiers of governments. That is the local, the federal, and the states. I think in other places they call it district, municipal, but that is what is obtainable in our country is local government, state government, and federal government. But I think there's a Latin saying that say there is something called primus inter pares, and by the constitution of Nigeria, no government, I mean, no tier of government is supposed to be subservient to the other. But even in the days around the region of Nigerians, it has become a culture that we believe that one government is superior to the other. But there has been constant legal battle between the state government and the federal government, where the state government will invest in such order to see one, for example, the VAT issue when I think the governor of Akwa Ibom State back then, Rivers State and Lagos State took the federal government to court, and then when they now redesign thing, the governor of Kaduna State produced it there. But I don't think we've ever seen anything like that in the local government. When the local government will say we want to disagree with either the state or the federal government or on anything. So please, can you tell us the culture of local governments is actually a growing culture that Nigerians are not used to? How would you describe that?
Thank you once again for having me now today. I think the question actually answers itself, self-explanatory. The basis of a problem today as a country is the system and practice. Okay, and we mentioned democracy as a system, yes. However, when you measure the system, it has a lot of shortcomings, especially in a massive context like ours. Now, ideally, we're supposed to have these two hands of government working harmoniously to advance the country. But people don't know that local government is a very pivotal unit here that they should pay, because that's the government at the grassroots.
Exactly. The people.
The major thing is just that if there will be any sense of verticality, any sense of seriousness whatsoever in government, then it should start from council. But it's a funny case that we just have a system in paper. In practice, it's something really different. You mentioned a statement made by
Doesn't really help to that. I would say,
but is it for me the problem is just that people that navigate the system understands how the system works. Okay? We are just onlookers, more or less like bystanders. The highest you can do is just come to the show, make analysis. But once you know at least go to protest sometimes, wisdom will go foot in the footer in the long run. But the issue is that Nigerians, as far as I'm concerned, have not actually understood what democracy itself means. Because if they did, they should have known that local government is the basis for anything that you want to do in the democracy. It should be the kind of step, the transitions. So if something is done at local government that's not fine, you begin the fight at that level. You transition to the state, then to the federal. Some decisions that you expect from the state and federal government, also I think we started at the local level, but because people are oblivious to the reality of how the system works, what I would call, political illiteracy. So it's the major problem. I think of a country, I feel that I have local government that contains a lot of words. Okay, and as a citizen that is participatory, I have a role to play in ensuring that politics and local government is checked. So it's at that level, if that's talk about you can check what state governments are doing. So if you have citizens that don't even understand how local government is, I wonder how those citizens will now take the government at the state level, let alone the federal level. So it's a question of the system of practice and how much do people understand such system. And of course, how much you want to get ourselves involved in it. I always say that politicians, no country can develop, no country, I say it, solely because of politicians. It's never a country that develops because politicians are there. What we have is developed countries transitioned over the course of the years because the politicians, however political they are, they ensure that service trumps politics. So it is the question of understanding, question of knowledge, questions of awareness.
I think I will start from where you stopped. Um, I would say that in Kwara State, somewhere around 2019, people took their destiny. Though, some people will be in politics, some will be outside. People said, no, we want the deeply rooted dynasty was rooted out to say, okay, we want to try a new hand. And the new one that was tried, I think they said no to nepotism, no to religion goes in, like everything will be by the will of the law. But one of the first things you will see that this government did was to trample upon the rights of the local government. And even after beating them out, halfway through their terms, it took this government 5 years. That is, if peradventure, if it has happened that this government it was not re-elected in 2023, this government might not have had the opportunity of conducting a single local government election. So now it took them 5 years to conduct a local government election, and we understand the wrangling that one of the primaries, even the primaries of the parties, and then from there to the election day, where you saw a lot of things that is not guilty to be old. Some people that don't have record of voting in their local government, and then rulers were announced. If the people decide, okay, we want to put a destiny in their hands, not all of them have to be politicians. Some people will actually be the beneficiaries. But in the context of Kwara State, do you think we believe the Kwara have decided to take their destiny into their own hands? But do you think they're getting value for, for what they did?
Well, of course, I can't speak for all Koreans, I'll speak as a Korean. So, no partition in Korean as that. You see, I have one statement when everything is politics, politics becomes everything. The problem that we have over the years is just that we root everything in politics. Of course, politics is everywhere, okay? But all of us were there when the whole it came around that the system, those that were in charge are banned, they were this. So we have a mix of people that are thought that they can actually, we brand the systems, okay, and we did what they think, or I mean, they thought previous government actually did uniform. But I have to tell you this, it is still the same practice. It's just that we have a different sort of people, you get the point now, with perhaps a very much different political ideology, so to say. So it's not a new problem in switch to clients. It's the same system. In fact, the whole struggle of Obedience, if you study it very quickly, you see it as something really much rooted in the thought that they were attaching to the previous government. The same godfatherism, nepotism, I mean, specific tendencies affect the system. Okay? So much that even before the struggle actually started, it went wrong. Maybe after the elections, we began to solve this, I mean, to see these people saying that no, this is why we participated in this struggle, so we shouldn't compensate. So once the fallout actually became public knowledge, some people went their way, some stayed because they felt that you still benefit. That should speak very about the so-called promise of these people that felt that what they were aiming for is to change the destiny of a state that had been in the hands of people that were being selfish and greedy, according to them. But for me, we've not, I will say that we've not actually, been lucky as a people. Okay? Because if you ask me, those are people that are in this government, some of them were in the previous government. Okay? And how about you want to put it, what is happening? Before I wait, I should tell you that we've never had a real change in the students of the time. So I will still, everything boils down to me on people. The people in this, particularly in distance, are the movement. Okay, you're the one that says that we wanted this people. So it's left for us also to decide what to do in the next election cycle. But the journey has never been different.
No, you think this government handled the local government right? Right.
It's self-evident. You said it took them a whopping 5 years to conduct several elections. We had 4 years, 3 years with failures. Okay? What's enabling you assume that the guys are just because ideally the government is serious with governance to ensure that it is the government per se, because we have the top government in this instance, the state government.
Yeah.
So if they're going to have serious governance in place, the local government must be taken care of. People that should be there should be actual representatives of the people. We all saw how the local government election went. So the government that even that waited for some of 5 years to conduct elections, despite people agitations, to even tell us that that government wasn't serious about local government councils. And here we are, some months after look at the performance, all levels. Look at the performance. So we expect that the government should harness the potential at this particular level to ensure that everything goes and stays to develop as it should. But what we have is just politics. Policies in quote, politics that is extremely skewed to benefit the certain government, while leaving the real beneficiaries of governance, which are the people in limbo. So generally, I would say that federal government is just an extension of state government. What we have as a government that doesn't care more about the people, purport itself. So the government has not been, to me, has not been the way it should be. Okay, even because the way we were elected was shabby. You cannot expect people to perform. People that were elected in shabbily way, they show them performs overboard. That's delusional. So the election in the first place was shabby. These people were handpicked. People that should be closer to the people were picked based on somebody's interest and expect them to serve. Oh no. So it is all over the place. So the point is that until we begin to have this conversation about people being thrown to a place of governance in a very, how would I put it, not particular. Of course, we have opportunities. So, in a way that aligns with common sense and that aligns with the association of the people that actually elect them.
But on the other side, let's talk about this current conversation about a local government chairman making statements so people find not so good for the end of the parastatal, even not too good for a councillor. Constant repeaters of repetition of statements like I was inaugurated, I was installed, I was chosen, I'm a beneficiary of so. So this position of the mandate and the trust of the people, and picking yourself, and then in that regard, saying that okay, if you're not for my boss, I'm down the consequences on the other side too, because no matter what, and no matter the kind of benefits my people stand to gain, as long as you're not with my boss, you are far on my loop. But what would you say to that?
You see, it's just, we just going back and forth. It's everything boils down to the fact that we are playing basis of fundamental. Okay? And I have to tell you this, you see, that statement, as perfect as it is, it's a powerful validation that we are done as a people. Okay? Because if someone as a local government chairman can to go to that, that I think that particular event, the content was inauguration of Study Foundation or something.
Well, I think Sadaunan gave some implementation. Yes.
You see, when you look at the tone and the mood, you will understand that people that were there, maybe they were not actually citizens. Okay?
Wow, no. Most of the faces that were there,
Citizens, I have my meaning of citizens. Okay, anyway. So, you see, you cannot, I cannot be citizens of the state, the president of the local government, for instance, and my local government chairman had that effort to say that kind of statement. It's awkward by our standard. And it's funny that maybe because we didn't see the film, maybe some citizens stood up and say, no, that's wrong.
no. Let me refresh your brain. The local government chairman was granted an interview after that, and maybe it's time that this was true. That was very realistic.
And I'm not saying it's a mistake.
Right. Do you think if the regulators that go to the chairman, you still have the inventory to go to the radio station?
The chairman will just aim to the fact that people are not ready to be participatory citizens. Government, however, elusive it is, it's not something that it's not rocket science. You get the point now. So the point is that we have a community of public office holders, we have a community of citizens, okay? Each independent in their roles. I made a point earlier that citizenship is key. If we have a contest where citizens are closer, we give the bench, the politicians to do as they like. And I even guess that kind of statement will come out because the man was really confident. He made statement confidently, saying that to them it is about politics of reality, not governance. Okay? And I asked myself, how did we get here? If were even as I'm speaking now, definitely there will be petitions. We're going to petition concerned agencies regarding that particular statement because I becomes to think about it. He said somebody came to intervene, tried to reject a dead exchange. But because you felt that the man is not three times with
Let me give you an example. Listen, let me give you a clarification. The chairman made this statement. He said the Gambari one people came to him with a letter that they needed help with their health center. And he said this letter was not delivered to him directly, but maybe to one of his aides. When he saw it, he put it in his drawer. He put it in his drawer. He has not done anything for a while, but he was already planning to do it. Then after that, he came back and submitted another letter that The senator representing these people have stepped up and said it's already in the budget of 2025 and he has already facilitated it and work was about to start. Then you say, hey, you did not bother to reply these people. The next thing he did was to go and start your order. He said he has already disbursed money and it was with the nursing home. So then the following week he started. But the question would have been, if that thing was in the budget of federal government, why can't we shift that intervention into another FGS?
Yeah, now that's now I wanted to come into with that particular question. You see, you don't have to.
You're talking about governments not doing rocket science. That's where I made
That is point. That's the point. What was emphasized too. You see, the whole summary of the case that an approval wasn't given for a period of now to participated by the federal government. That's the summary, okay? And of course, the fact that the state government had already commenced not government doing that, whatever. So because as I said, it's just a factor to not government just a factor of the state government. Studied that so it was given a mandate by the governor. So whatever. So but the point here is that
But instead of another thing, the government is releasing the new application.
anyway, the point is that if you believe that a project the federal government had covered, you get the point now, shouldn't go because of the rift. Because the problem is that we have attention to who suffers in this case, and that's the people. And I was shocked when people were when people were clapping him when he made that statement. So it's actually hard to do this the volumes of how docile citizens here have been. By every common sense, someone should have that guts to stand marks of presence of what business it is if political actors are fighting. It shouldn't have business. Our focus here is that once you're elected to a public office, believer, the whole of the background is none of our business. But the moment you begin to see that what should be for public good is not being subtracted because of needless political gift, then you have to say where we are heading. So you're saying that the senator, the lawmaker didn't know that the money has been dispersed or whatever. That resources should have been used for another thing. I have to have something more importantly. Because what I have studied in the course of time that this government has been in place is that they brought about tangible things, infrastructural projects. Governance go far beyond that. Governance is a continuum. The argument that this is a current government. Now, the previous government did nothing. It's not good for the betterment of our country. We expect that the current government also will do its own part and leave. But we're going to measure the effectiveness of the government based on what happens after it leaves office. Does the system continues? Does that governance transition at least higher? Look at the points now. So are some of the things that we've put in place continue in serving the people? That should be the bigger questions. Because we don't build this and build this and build that, it should be that the logical continuum should be there. So much that anyone that is coming on board, you have something to build onto. So there won't be any problem. Where should I start? Because now we have all previous scattered all around, but there's not a logical, mechanism in place that no government that can actually build us. What you have as legacy will suffer.
Okay. Like on what you just said now, I think this is not a part of what we plan to discuss. Now. Maybe let me just push it to you. Just yesterday, a very popular media house in Kwara State posted a picture of a very good terrain of solar powered street lights around Taiwan in the lorry. To some people, it will look like a new thing, but I remember that during the past government, there was a project like this. Like go to Tanke, you see the solar power thing around I think Okiodo to MFM, you see it there. When you go to a place like you see something like that. These places were like stepped down to this solar power, solar street lights, and then they were supposed to be maintained. But all of these things were left to rot. And now this government is celebrating these things anew. And if this culture persists, that means if the next government that comes in is not from the camp of this government, they leave this one to rot, and then they will be their own, and then the culture will continue. Like you said, government is continue. How do we citizens beg the government and beg people that govern us, because we know everybody cannot be in government at a time, that these resources and not anybody's investment, but the resources of the state are collective patrimony. Why don't you just maintain these things and do all the things? Solar, all the solar power system, we were not, we still needed more. This current government could have done more. So why
Is it, I think what you want to understand is that it takes two to tango. Okay, the people out there. I mentioned communities. Is it you cannot leave the business of politicians. I find it so comfortable that I got to repeating points. But this is the point. The previous government had their own shortcomings. They've gone, that's history. Okay? If that government was concerned about ideological mechanism that is extremely sustainable, now we expect that no government that is coming will have actually built on that. But what we had in 2015 was so historic. Okay? It's a kind of political revolutions.
2019?
So that's another rather political revolution. So but it was revolution three. But let me also say it was politics of bitterness draped in revolutionary struggle. Okay? And that is why what we're seeing today is happening. Government is doing a lot of things commendable. No one will excuse, I mean, we play down the role of the impact of government so far. But beyond this is the fact that when this government ends, the next one that begins you actually to pay down to in terms of ideological, and I'm emphasizing because this is very clear. The kind of policies you put in place, the kind of decisions that you make, how well you strengthen institutions. These are issues surrounding ideological mechanisms. So if institutions are strengthened, if good policies are sustainable and in place, and of course, if you make your government, look at it, so much in alignment with people's aspirations, even if the government is coming different from the one that left, there won't be much difference in terms of that continuation. But what we have is just that we're not playing our roles well as citizens. We're mere followers, not critical followers. Okay? So, and this is where the problem is. The moment those that are in charge feel that people that they are leading as observant things, they move on and do what they like. So we should commend the government for putting some of these social activities in place. But beyond this thing is those intangible aspect of governance that we don't see. We don't see it. We don't see them, but they are more important even than some of these infrastructures. No government should be comfortable destroying bridges. No government should be comfortable stoking tensions. Why it's supposed to unify people around an ideology that advances their aspirations and causes. So for me, we still have a lot of way to go. And citizens are the major questions here in all of this scheme. The equation remains so unbalanced because we have not been playing our roles. We're not saying that we should be protesters all over the place, but we should be critical citizens. If you ask tough questions without minding whose fault is God, okay? From different so that we work, either practitioners, NGOs, civil society organizations, even other citizens, we should know that it is incumbent on us citizens to put our government, people in power on account. We should ensure that they are accountable to every step they take. Since these steps pertain to our destiny. So why will now be passive players in all of this? Somebody is deciding for you, then you that decision is being made upon, you relax, you expect things to work well. So it doesn't work that way. It is a question of how informed, how aware, and how ready and proactive citizens are. If these things become to really play out, I'm very sure our political office holders will turn a new leaf.
Do you think political leaders want us to be informed and aware?
And it's that's another conversation entirely.
Thank you very much. I think that's a very good place to leave it. That or it was Mr. Ambali Abukebe, media practitioner and public affairs analyst. Thank you very much for granting us out of your tight schedule. We really do appreciate this. And we hope if we come upon you some other time, you'll grant us the grace. Thank you very much, viewers. And remember, save up the countries once again. Do have a lovely day. See you next time.